hello everyone. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hope everyone doing well. I speak weekly with fascinating people here on SaugaTalks. And we talk about tech and innovation, entrepreneurship, trends, you name it. And today I am so privileged because with me today, Kathy Murray. Hello, Kathy. How are you?
I feel really good. It's a beautiful day in New York City.
Thank you for joining today. We would like to talk about innovation and tech trends and entrepreneurships because you work with your clients and you are leading Tech for Women foundation. Is it foundation? Correct me
No. We're a for-profit organization. Tech
for
Up for
profit.
Women.
Fantastic. So let's start with the open-ended question, right? Innovation today, because you are in New York City. And last time I checked, it is a thriving technology and innovation hub.
Yes.
How does it feel up there?
Being in New York City, yes, Google and Amazon and all the other headquarters. There's so much that you can just pre-COVID attend and meet other entrepreneurs and meet other VCs and other people in the infrastructure. Even online this past year, the amount of startups that I see at pitch days. I mean, I could go to a pitch day every day online. And so I see hundreds of companies, and that's just so exciting and energizing to me. I also founded Executive Forum Angels about 8 or 9 years ago. And we're a group of C-suite or ex-C-suite individuals. And we have a pitch day every 6 weeks. And there's four of us that are constantly, we keep a funnel of firms that may want to pitch to us. And we try to whittle that down to 5 or 6 every 6 weeks that we know our members may or may not be interested, or may be interested in investing in.
Fantastic. Which industries? Those startups, right? Because here and there I see amazing stuff. I focused on AI mostly, but let me ask you, which industries they're targeting?
Because of Executive Forum Angels, because we come from all different industries, we look at a wide range of them. We have some consumer product individuals, we have some techies, we have some people interested in the life sciences. So that's part of our screening process. If it's something that we think may fit within the interests of our members, then we'll have them pitch.
Can you describe among the entrepreneurs and thriving community of startups, right? Can you describe what's the mood out there now? Because some talk about after COVID renaissance, some talking about, yes, people are ready, consumers are ready, and investors are ready to grow.
Yeah, I think even during COVID, there's been an increase. I know our angel group, because we do our pitches online now, there's more people engaged. They don't have to come into the city and sit in a conference room for a whole day to listen to pitches. They can come online like this and just listen. And so one of our companies that a number of us just invested in started during COVID. They had to pivot before they even had their launch because their go-to-market strategy had to change. But that there's several of us in that one. We raised, I think, over about $150,000 for that firm from our group. So I think that in some ways, COVID caused firms to be much more focused and spend their dollars more wisely and pivot when they had to.
For sure. For sure. So I'm speaking with entrepreneurs here from time to time and CEOs of the startups or company who just passed that phase and going after what second round of their clients, so to speak. So can I ask you one thing? Your advice for those who are kind of already ideated. They have a good idea what they're gonna after. But from that, we know it's a long journey to become something as a
Right.
business. So how do you see that dynamic?
Yeah, we actually I ran the new venture contest for the Harvard Business School Club of New York, this region of the whole global HBS. And we have divided companies into like entrepreneurs, and then they move on to having an idea, and then they have a minimal viable product, and then they are fundraising and going out. So it's understanding where you are on that phase. There's a zillion ideas out there. As I just said, I see hundreds of pitches every week if I wanted to. And the idea is nothing. Everybody has ideas. You see things on CNBC and say, oh, wow, I had that idea. It doesn't matter because it's all about execution. And so if I was an entrepreneur, well, I am an entrepreneur, but if I was going to start another company, I'd be like, what does the customer want? What would the customer pay for? And then design backwards to solve the problem. Because we see too many people think they have a great idea that'll solve a problem, but if nobody wants to buy that or invest in it, then it's not a viable business. So I think starting from the customer in is most important. And then taking there's so many basic courses out there on how to do it. I like the Kaufman Foundations. They have great material. I took a 12-week course early on after I left corporate life at SUNY here in the city. And it was great. You went through a workbook for 12 weeks with other entrepreneurs, and you go through that entire process. But there's other things. I would check with my university that I went to, if I or a business school, because all of them. I mean, I don't know a school that isn't into entrepreneurship and doesn't have resources that can help you work through the process. Also, that's a long-winded answer, but I could go on for
This is
hours.
great. This is great. Let's go for half an hour, if not hours here. Absolutely. Let me pick up on that, Kathy. When you said if I would be entrepreneur now, starting in a venture, right? We know that customer is important. We know that we need to find out what world needs right now, right? Before we enter anything, invest our, not even money, our lives, our time, our family life, everything, right, into the venture. So my question to you is, what are the tools available? Because again, people read articles, they're trying to stay upright with industry. They kind of think they understand what market needs. But to me, this is the most difficult, the most important point.
And that's why you say everybody knows that, but I think most entrepreneurs, not most, that's strong adjective, but I think a number of entrepreneurs skip that whole process. They have an idea and they believe in that idea, and they're gonna think that if they push that idea enough, it'll pass. But no, and so many don't do the market research. And there's lots of resources for market research. Just think about your own family, and I have nieces and nephews. I'm always bugging them. I'll send them things. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of investing this. Taste this. I'm thinking of investing in this. Like, use this service. I'll pay you for a while just to use it, just to see what you think of it. There's, that's just the really basic way to start. But there's other ways if you have some resources is to use firms. One of my friends runs Spark Number 9, Heather Myers, and it does A/B testing. I simplify what she does to A/B testing. It's much more complex because on her staff she has techies and she has marketing team and she a design team, and she uses them. So let's say I want to let's pick something out like a new deodorant, or just pick a product out of the air. They can actually put a website up, and see who's interested, what price points, all those type of things to test whether your idea is viable or it needs to be tweaked to see who may buy. it going forward, even before you have a minimal viable product. So it's getting that input and feedback and in as many ways as you can possibly get it.
What I hear, Kathy, is do your homework. What I
Yes.
hear that there's no shortcut. I was so hoping for silver bullet that Kathy
Yeah.
will tell us, go get that and you will be golden. And I hear that it's a lot of work and intellectual power and resources to really pick how do you do your research before you start developing the product. I am with you because I know developing and building something is really becoming secondary. I know many of developers are ready to fight with me right now, but point is we're proud in what we do, but unless the world needs it, we can build it in our own, free time? Call it a
Yes.
hobby.
It's a hobby, yes.
Exactly. So when hobby becomes business, Kathy, you think?
Yeah. When does it become a business? When you have a minimal viable product and that people will pay you money that actually allows you to make a profit. That's when it becomes a business. But as an angel investor, I always look at three things. Is there a viable product? Like, or is it just an idea? Because you need to have something that works. I can't tell you how many pitches I've seen that are great ideas, but there's no product. So, and the people are so important. I did an angel investment last year where the product wasn't perfected yet, but I so believe in the people that I know they actually have since pivoted, but I believe they could pivot and make it into a viable business. And then the product market fit. Again, will somebody pay? So those are my 3 Ps: people, product market fit, and actual product. That's how I evaluate a business.
Fantastic. Thank you for reminding, because we know that product will pivot.
Yes,
It's
can.
almost never, right, that the idea that you thought of becomes anything 3 years later and thriving business. So
Yes.
it will pivot. But people that you team up with, that's totally different universe. So what about people, Kathy? Can you please describe the functional, environment where you can pick the people and kind of build things together? Because again, it's not that trivial.
I think what you said earlier is critical, that there is no silver bullet, and that you go into being an entrepreneur understanding that you're going to have to take twice as long and invest twice as much money as you expect before the business takes off, and even then you're lucky. So the amount of work, is the person up to doing that amount of work, and are they absolutely committed? I've had a lot of ideas that I've taken to the first couple phases, and then I say, "Oh, this is too boring. I can't do only this the rest of my life. I can't say over and over again that this is what you need." So you have to. It has to be somebody who is doing it for the love of what they're doing and are committed to it. Like for Tech Up for Women, we didn't go into it saying, "Oh wow, let's start this business and this is what we think people need." We started it because we were doing a presentation at NASDAQ because of my partner had a contract with them, and she asked me to speak, and they liked the topic so much about why tech is important in your career, even if you don't have tech in your title. And they said, you should do a one-day conference. So my partner, who is a conference planner, is like, oh, let's do this. And we had no concept that we were really creating a business, but it quickly became a business. And we both do it every day. She's the majority because my husband says you should be like 50-50. I'm like, oh no, we're not being 50-50 because she's doing a lot of the work. So for her, she lives and breathes it, but I work on it as an advisor and I do the Tech Up Talks once a week. So um, I think understanding that you're going to live and breathe it. And if you want the majority share, you are going to live and breathe it. And that's it.
That's already, I think, filters out a lot of, I would say, want to be entrepreneurs, because not everyone is really committed and not everyone willing to live and breathe that idea for years. Okay, so one thing to get excited by something, another thing to grudge through it and make it happen. So let's leap in this conversation, in totally different world. To me, corporate and entrepreneurship, yes, they live in the same universe, but to me, I have kind of experience more on that side than entrepreneurship. But yes, learning a lot about being on my own entity right now. So yeah, what's your take? Because many of entrepreneurs, they do come from corporate world and vice versa.
Well, I think what you said earlier about if I was in corporate life, um, it's much more prevalent now for individuals to have side gigs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people I know who have a corporate job, but they have a side gig and that they're developing it. And at some point, they're going to switch from being corporate to entrepreneur. So that's like one segment of corporate. Um, there's some people who absolutely cannot move from being corporate to being an entrepreneur because it requires flexibility, organization, no support staff, um, unless it's just the automated type of thing. But so that's another segment. Those who absolutely can't do it, and those who are absolutely entrepreneurial spirit, just feel it in their gut, and they're going to do it no matter where they are, corporate or after. And then there's like the middle group that yes, um, they can they can do entrepreneurial things and have startups, but it requires a lot more effort if they just came out of corporate life because it's so different. But let's take those of us that have an entrepreneurial spirit burning within us. And if I'd been born 40 years later, I probably, well, I shouldn't say that. I may never have worked in corporate life. I may have been an entrepreneur from the beginning because it's in my nature. I am always like way ahead of others, and always curious and learning. I was really fortunate to have a corporate life because when I graduated from college, you were fortunate if you were a woman to not be a nurse, a teacher, or a housewife or secretary. So I feel really fortunate that corporate was beginning to hire women at more senior levels when I got out of school almost 50 years ago. So the I was so fortunate in that I got attracted to jobs that were entrepreneurial. I went into sales. And so if you're a really great salesperson, you're an entrepreneurial person. And I was just back in Pittsburgh for Mother's Day to see my mother this week. And we drove down and we're driving through those Altoona, State College, Tanning, all those after you leave 80 and go down to Pittsburgh. And it's memory lane because I was in my car 100% of the time. I was traveling from independent agency to independent agency. I was working for Aetna, I was a multi-line insurance company, and I was in my car. So you had to have everything. I mean, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have any of that. So the back of my car was like a file cabinet. You always had to make sure you had pens. It's just, it was a great deal of organization. And then I ended up with bosses as I moved up the chain that saw that in me that I had the entrepreneurial spirit, and they gave me jobs, gave me roles that allowed me to express that. So I ended up being responsible for all the internal operations. company at Aetna, and then when I went to PwC, it was after they had a merger, and they had me really put together all their internal operations, real estate procurement, travel, security, videos, you name it, conference planners. They all reported to me, and it allowed me to be an entrepreneur within the corporate world. And I never lived in fear of losing my job, because I was always, oh, I'll get another job, or I'll figure out how to make money. So I've not lived my life in fear because of the entrepreneurial spirit. So to me, I was in that 10, 20% that would be an entrepreneur no matter where you put me, because I just love creating and innovating, and thinking what's going to happen a year from now that we better start preparing for. I was really great at crisis planning. I'm really great. I just did an enterprise risk management with another organization. I'm really good at that, because I like to think, here's all the things that can happen and how do we prepare for them.
This is amazing. This is amazing life story, because frankly, right, you strike me as a very happy person, and that's so important, because somehow we focus in pulp culture and other places that on people who still looking what they are, they still waiting for the right moment or right opportunity or all that kind of consideration. So it sounds to me that, hey, you did make that lemonade, all right, and that's important. That's important to understand. Absolutely. To me, again, corporate life was very rewarding in a way that you have reached to resources, you have reached to global, absolutely global, community all across the world. This is amazing, okay? And frankly, that experience is absolutely precious. So we're not gonna put one versus another. We will say, yes, it's about us. It's personality. It's what we make out of our lives, don't you think?
Yes, it's all about choices. Like the first corporation I worked for, it was probably the local Pittsburgh manager, but he would make fun of me doing volunteer things. He didn't like celebrate it. And I'm like, this isn't a company I want to work for, because I just didn't like him. And, it was all, well, anyways, that's so long ago. It's an old story. But I learned then that you make choices, and I chose my next company, Aetna, because the local manager, he didn't just make fun of me, he celebrated. When I got elected to be president of the insurance women, he came, he actually gave me a gavel that I still have. I still have the gavel on my desk.
Here we go. Wow, that's precious. That is precious. Yeah.
He celebrated me being engaged in the community, and he celebrated, and he was a everybody talks now about mentors and sponsors and all those different words. John was one he was a sponsor. He if an independent agent called and said, "Oh, you sent out a woman," he'd be like, "Well, then you have to work with her. You're not working with us." So he was an advocate, or whatever term you want to use. You need people like that, but they have to find you as much as you find them.
Cannot agree more, because again, mentorship is big. I mean, last 15 years, I think, since I started tracking, right? Everybody advising, get your mentor, no matter if you're in corporate world, no matter if you're starting entrepreneur, right? Get a mentor, but it's two ways lane, isn't it?
Yes, and there were very few women in any senior role then, and still too little in any senior roles. But I remember trying to make a woman be my mentor. It didn't work out. I think when you think back 30, 40 years ago, they were too busy trying to figure out themselves and how they fit in. So I don't feel angry about any women who didn't support me along the route, because I totally understand it. But I do believe in women supporting women, and I think that has changed, and that there are less I got here, so you have to figure it out yourself, people. There's more of, I'll help you. And you see that in, I do the HBS Women and the University of Rochester Women and Tech Up for Women. And you just see women willing to help other women, and it's so energizing to see that develop.
Fantastic. Let's talk about Tech Up for Women,
Yes,
because what is your goal there? Because it looks like it's ongoing journey,
yes.
but what do you think you'll be able to accomplish?
So when we did start it, and we sat and said, what is our objective? Our objective is that everybody needs to know about technology in order to advance their careers. I was a science math person in college, and always interested in what the latest developments are, and that has helped me so much in my career. So I don't have to know everything about blockchain, but if there's a conversation at work with the technology department or with the CEO or with a board member or whomever, I have to have a working knowledge of what blockchain is. And so we set about creating a platform that allows women, one, to share their knowledge about technology, but also for anyone, those who have any role in life, even a housewife. I shouldn't say even a housewife, but if you're a housewife, if you're tutoring your kids, if you're the COO of a company, you have to know something about technology and be conversant in it. And so our platform allows individuals to become conversant, to learn about what resources there are, and to network with other women. And we get so excited when we hear stories about women networking. We have a Tech Up Talks on Tuesday, and a couple of weeks ago we had a story about this. A woman who was head of tech at Nordstrom e-commerce met another woman who is an artist creator at Tech Up for Women conference when we were live at Javits Center 2 years ago. And Diane is now selling her product at Nordstrom's because they made that connection. And the woman at Nordstrom's didn't control merchandising, but she went out of her way to introduce Diane and Bina Bay to the merchandisers. And I love that part of the story because she could have come to the conference because I'm the head of e-commerce. But she went out of her way to then take the information, take it to merchandising, buy a lot of her products herself. And now, it's very successful that Diane with Bina Bay is in Nordstrom. I just went up last week to buy a headband for my cousin because it's so exciting. Like, oh,
I love this. I love this because not only, right, you are putting resources out there, you make things work.
yes,
You connect people for mutual benefits, and this is so inspiring. Truly, truly,
and
because sometimes we join conferences, we join meetups, right, and we don't know what to expect. And these stories when people simply meet each other, how much power in there, right, when people
yes,
talk to each other.
yes, and we create those opportunities and resources, and we have other great stories about people who do create side gigs as a result of this, and have gone back like to General Assembly or some of the other tech things to learn how to program, to switch careers. I mean, yeah, it's like so exciting and energizing that people find the right place for themselves.
Amazing.
And it's also um, the other side of the story is it's just disheartening. I went to a girls' high school as a scholarship student. I was very fortunate, and they had a panel of young women on recently, and I was asking them, like, "You're so excited about tech, and you're a junior in high school, and what creates that excitement for you?" And they say, "Because I'm in an environment of," I'm adding, "of all women who don't say, well, that's a stupid question," who don't like mansplain it to them. They all are working on initiatives together in tech. And I think we have to create that environment post high school, post college, so that women are comfortable being ourselves, not being like the men, and being comfortable in that environment in order to get more women into tech overall. It's just
Exactly. That's whole another topic, of course, stems and stems. But again, right, my opinion, not everyone should be in tech. At the same time, everyone who is inclined, slightly inclined, right, we should encourage and work on that simple interest, don't you think?
yes, I think though, even let's just say one of my friends is a professor and she also writes sci-fi.
Hmm.
You have to know about tech because everything went online this past year. And do you think the college professors who were better at tech became better professors this past year? My guess is yes. Do you think that you could write a book without understanding tech anymore? No. So, no matter what you pursue, just living, you have to understand tech and you have to know enough to, again, be conversant. And even like someone says, well, I'm just going to go to the AT&T store and ask them this question. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay. But even if you go into the AT&T store and ask a question about something, if you know basically what the technology is, your questions become more intelligent and you don't get frustrated. So,
Exactly. And we do live in digital age, which means that resources are available. If you
yes.
have internet connection, you have the entire world in your phone in front of you on the screen, don't you think? So again, it's up to us to find the places where we can, yeah, find the
So
answers.
I believe everybody needs to know enough about tech, no matter what their career. And also the other thing is you say, well, I don't want to get involved because I'm not a techie.
Mhm.
These companies all need people with marketing skills, with HR skills, with legal skills. And so you can work in a tech company and not be a techie. You know,
Another excellent point. Absolutely, absolutely. Because speak of what digital marketeers, digital sellers, speak of relationship managers, speak of the completely new professions we're not even aware yet. Okay,
right,
they will require those humanity skills for sure, but you gotta get your ABC tech ABC anyways. But yeah,
right,
good thing that new generation growing up with it. It's not even a question for them, wanna be a designer on paper. No, no, all the designs are digital now, like it or not, and so on and so forth.
right. I interviewed two women that were in data management at two different firms. The one went to school, studied data management and all the algorithms and everything, and the other one was on the customer service sales side and then moved into it and and came into it from the business perspective. How do you use that data to improve the customer service sales process? So that they were two women, totally different backgrounds, that both had roles in as data scientists, data management. So there's a lot of different journeys that individuals have.
Absolutely, Kathy. I am so appreciative of our time today because I learned so much. I'm sure our audience will. Can we summarize a couple of takeaways maybe in the conclusion? So we did talk about entrepreneurship and very basic work that everyone needs to do. So what do you want to leave our audience with?
Overall, for entrepreneurship, it's a journey. It is no straight line, and it requires perseverance to be an entrepreneur. And like I said, whatever you're thinking is going to happen, it's not going to happen that way. And it appears that people create unicorns and they just are suddenly, oh, but that's because we only see them when they become a unicorn. There's probably at least 6, 7 years of work before it gets to that point, at least. Um, I go into these expecting 7 to 10 year horizon when I do angel investing. And even for Tech Up for Women, we started it 5 years ago, and our objectives, we have our 7, 8 year, 9 year, 10 year objectives, and that means we have to constantly innovate and pivot and change what we're doing, because who knows what the next pandemic will be. We know there'll be something coming, but what it is and how it'll impact the world, we don't know.
True.
So I think that's it. Be prepared for a long haul.
Good. Let's leave everyone with this simple thought. Thank you for reminding us. Again, thank you for teaching us, simple things, but they go a long way, Kathy. Thank you. Thank you so very much for your time today.